Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Jada. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are here, first of all, I'm excited to have you. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and comment. And this is my wonderful sister, Jazmine. And we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. So if you're interested in that and want to hear some tips on how to deal with it, then keep on watching. So yes, today we're talking about imposter syndrome, and I don't know about you all, but this is something that I've dealt with in the past, and even currently. Jazmine, have you dealt with it before? Girl, all the time. So, and it's really common, and so let's just kind of define what imposter syndrome is. So Jazmine, go ahead and define imposter syndrome.
Okay, so we had it pulled up, guys, just so we could give a real definition, not just our own. So imposter syndrome refers to the internal experience of believing that you are not as competent as others perceive you to be. So that's the proper definition of imposter syndrome. For me, it's just like not believing in myself the way others believe in me.
Same way, and I don't know if anybody's watching this like it's a woman in tech or a woman in STEM, but I feel like that's like heightened just because, you know, we're in this space where it's few of us, especially being a Black woman in STEM, and sometimes you feel like you're not deserving. Like sometimes you feel like you're not good enough to be in the position. Sometimes you're like thinking like, dang, I'm at this position. Like, do they know that I'm like completely faking this? Or do they know that I'm like completely unsure and I'm just kind of figuring it out as I move on? And it's just weird. It's such a weird feeling. It's not that I want to doubt myself, you know, and I know you probably experienced this too.
Yeah, I feel the same way, especially being a woman in STEM, especially in research too. A lot of it is independent but teamwork, so you're doing things independently to contribute to a team. And sometimes when I have tasks that are just me, I always doubt my ability for some reason, or I feel like I'm not up to par with the skills that are necessary to do what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And that's not even from lack of training. That's just lack of confidence sometimes. And I feel like we're very confident girls, so it's kind of hard being so young. Also that too, that we're young in these spaces.
Right.
So you're working with a lot of people who are older than you, and you kind of want them to see the best side of you, but also to be realistic and know that you're not going to know everything. You can ask for help, and that's what they're there for. They're there to help you
Exactly.
and move you up in the world, in the space, and maybe go to grad school or, you know, go right into the industry. That is the point for you to learn.
Exactly.
And sometimes I forget to be a proper learner, and I want to know it all, but you don't know. You just don't know it all.
Yeah, and you know what? You kind of got into the tips, but before we get into the tips on how to deal with imposter syndrome, I want you to talk about an experience directly that you've ever had with imposter syndrome and how that impacted you.
So that's a really good question, because the first thing that comes to mind was actually one of my best internship experiences. So I interned my summer before sophomore year at University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, where it was my first time ever doing research. So I accepted the position, I went. Now, mind you, I was surprised I even got it, because as a freshman, you have no experience at all. So I was applying in groups that were seniors, juniors, sophomores that had way more experience than me. So when I got the offer, I was so surprised. I was so happy to be in another state. And those were really the two main things I felt when I got there. Was number one, I'm in a new state. Number two, I'm the youngest here. So I instantly felt like an imposter, because everyone else, when we had our roundtable discussions, we're talking about how they did all this stuff, they did all this research, they had presentations, and they were able to have projects. And I'm like, well, I haven't done a thing. This is my first time. So everyone else thought that was a really good thing, because like, wow, you're here and you haven't done a thing yet. Just imagine where you'll be 2-3 years from now. And I had to learn that slowly throughout, is that yes, I'm the youngest one here, but I'm still worthy enough to be here. They chose me for a reason.
Yes, ma'am.
And when I was able to accept that, I accepted the whole entire experience. So I was able to ask for help, ask questions, put my foot in the door. So I asked my PI, which is a principal investigator, to get me connected with other people. And then that turned into connections with the grad school. So it was really good, but I did have an initial sense of imposter syndrome when I first got there, but it was able to be ridden.
Good. I'm going to talk about a bit of a time where I felt imposter syndrome. Man, it was my first real sweet internship. I was really nervous, and being one of the only Black people on the team, and just having another intern group, and we were kind of diverse, and just it was just a lot. And then being virtual, like, I'm like, do they know me? Like, dang it, do I deserve to be here? Like, you know, I never would have thought that type of opportunity would have landed for me.
Right.
And that's unfortunate that I thought that or used to think that. So when we were given, like, you know, really important tasks, I used to like really be scared sometimes. I know, but I would get them done, you know. And so I just like, that would be like a good reminder to myself. But I will not sit here and lie and say I haven't dealt with it, or if I deal with it now, like even beyond like being in the tech industry, imposter syndrome when it comes to like interviewing for things in general, maybe even like speaking engagements. Like I do definitely still have that. So with all that being said, let's get into some tips on how we deal with imposter syndrome so that you could be successful and continue moving on in your journey, okay? Okay, so the first tip is that this is a common feeling, and I know it's like not really a tip, but this is where I'm going to go with it. When I say it's a common feeling, like I said, like my twin sisters even dealt with imposter syndrome. I've had friends that dealt with imposter syndrome. Even some of my mentors I've spoken about imposter syndrome. It's okay to feel this way. It is not uncommon. And so with that being said, being able to like talk to somebody about it, sometimes they'll give you a reality check like, girl, what are you tripping for? You got this, you know? And you have the tools, like you're equipped in order to do what you're doing. So being able to talk about it with a friend, a mentor, your sis will definitely help you out in dealing with your imposter syndrome.
I remember during the summer, because we stayed together, and I saw you, you know, freaking out. I'm like, girl, you got this. You're here for a reason. So I feel like I was that person for you. Okay, I do. I really do. I feel like I helped you a lot.
You did help me a lot, for real, man, because I had some times so I'm just like,
girl, she used to be stressing, y'all. I'm not. She used to be stressing.
The life of a software engineering intern. Listen, I keep getting into all that, man. Okay, second tip, and this one is really key too, and I don't know if you do this, but I write down all my successes to remind me, like, girl, this is what you've been able to do so far in this position. Keep it going. Like being able to visualize your success a bit, like writing down, like, okay, today I was able to accomplish this much. I figured out basically like something I was stuck on. I asked for help. Like all the things that you've been doing thus far in your position, write those down somewhere or see them somewhere and remind yourself that, hey boo, or hey, you have it all. You are good.
To second that, I really do suggest that you write the things you've done down, because number one, in that headspace, you kind of forget what you've done before. So having that stuff written down can help you later in the line. You can mention it in personal statements and resumes. And number two, when you look back, it's rewarding, because it's like, wow, like I've done all of this. And it can be something so little, like I got up today, or I was able to answer X amount of emails today, or I made a connection today. Those things are really, really good to write down, because you can look back and be like, wow, I'm not an imposter after all. Look at all the stuff I've done. And it's still humbling. You know, you're not over here toting like, I've done this, I've done that. No, we're not saying that. We're saying that just reminding yourself the accomplishments you have made will help you just protect yourself a little bit more with imposter syndrome. It's like a barrier, a shield.
Yes, yeah. And the last thing that we have is check specifically, like, what is it that you are scared of? Sometimes it could be maybe a learning curve. Sometimes it really could be something that you're not grasping. And be honest with yourself. I know when I first started at my internship, there was one particular thing that I wasn't the best at. And instead of feeling like as an imposter, I put that to the side, you know, reminding myself of my accomplishments, what I've been able to do thus far, talk to my mentor and my sister. And then I kind of honed in on what specifically was scaring me. And I worked on it. I built my skills, whether that was in coding, whether that was like people skills, whether that was just being a creative in general. And so when I did that, it made it less scary, less fearful, because on the other side of fear is growth. And so that's one thing I was able to do. So if you're in this position and you are dealing with imposter syndrome, and it's something like really specific, whether it's a skill that you could pick up, tell yourself what it is, and then go and move forward and actually start learning and applying.
I would say, just to piggyback off of her, when I mentioned my story with University of Minnesota, the first thing I mentioned was uncomfortability of the state. So I realized that was one of the really big issues I had that dealt with my imposter syndrome. And number two, I was a Black woman in Minneapolis. Now, there are Black people there, but you do have to realize intersectionality can also play into your imposter syndrome. Whether you are any other race, people of color, or person of color, tailored, whether you are your sexuality, if you're pansexual, if you're gay. Sometimes you care about how other people perceive you, and you just have to remember that you have to be yourself authentically, because fakeness does show. So if you're yourself authentically and get your work done, hopefully there should be no problem, but we know how our system works. But just don't let that be the reason why you feel like an imposter, because you're still deserving to be there, no matter what you are, no matter who you are, and no matter who you love.
Yes, thank you, Jazmine. I love that. Yes, ma'am. And so that wraps it up with the tips. First, like, if you really enjoyed what we talked about on imposter syndrome, make sure to leave us a like. You know, I'm excited for Jazmine to join us today. So, Jazmine, if you wanna,
yes. So you all can follow me at all that jazz 3 underscores on Instagram and Twitter. You can also follow my podcast Instagram at In Vivo Podcast, where we talk about STEM, research, and more. And you can also follow my brand ATJ Studios, which is at ATJ Studios on Instagram. You can get a shirt just like this.
Thank you, Jazmine, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, boo.
Yes, as always, stay blessed, y'all, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.